Welcome to GID216, Motion Graphics for Interactive Media. How are you? Welcome to class. All right, so today is our first day, our first week of this semester, and we are going to go through our Blackboard page here and take a look at our class, check out all the different aspects of the class, what's expected, what the guidelines are. We're going to take a quick look at the syllabus, and we're going to go over some of the basic elements of visual literacy. Okay, so what is this class about? Well, by now, hopefully you've read through the overview of the class here on the home page of our Blackboard area. And you'll know that this class is basically broken into a couple of different areas. So the main thing that we are doing is we are going to explore time-based media and animation for the web, focusing primarily on Adobe After Effects as our main piece of software, although we will be using other things, such as Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and so on and so forth. We're going to learn about the basics of animation and storyboarding, and we're going to talk about a variety of different areas specific to After Effects, including compositions and layers, keyframes, masks, shape layers, and more. We have a bunch of interesting projects we're going to do that are going to leverage Adobe After Effects. So in the end of this, we're going to have some really nice deliverables that you can add to your portfolio. But then alongside this exploration of motion graphics and Adobe After Effects, we are going to be taking a look at basic tenets of visual literacy. Now, these, of course, are related to not just motion graphics, to a variety of visual media, but I think they're really relevant to what we're doing here with motion graphics, specifically our larger project that extends through the entirety or at least a good chunk of the semester. So we'll see what that is. Now, visual literacy, of course, are sort of like the basic foundational building blocks of all sorts of visual design, and they can be defined a bunch of different ways, but in this class, we're going to focus on 8 specific areas of visual literacy, specifically seeing versus looking, artistic representation, pictograms and icons, logos and branding marks, narrative contraction and expansion, the role of color, which is an imperfect tool, and we'll see why it's an imperfect tool, typography and letter forms, and semiotics, under our title, Semiotics Made Simple. Now, of course, this is going to be explored a variety of different ways, specifically through week-long media analysis and discussion board assignments. Now, there is no textbook for this class, and so participation in these media analysis and discussion board assignments is basically tantamount to the main amount of learning you're going to do. And so we have a bunch of consumables for the class, which take the place of the textbook. And these can be a series of videos, they can be articles, they could be podcasts, a variety of things. And you'll see this on the week to week. Okay, so that's kind of the main thing we're going to do. Now, as far as how this class will function, this is an asynchronous online class, meaning that we are going to be working online through Blackboard, and it's asynchronous, meaning that everybody works sort of at their own pace. There are weekly deadlines, things that have to be done every week, and as long as you are getting those done and hitting the deadlines, then you're good to go. As far as the structure of it, every Saturday you are going to get one of these here video lectures that you are watching right now. Now, this first week's one came out a little later than Saturday because it's the first week, but normally you will get them on Saturday for the following week. So for all intents and purposes, the weeks in this class can be measured from Saturday to Friday. So Saturday you get your weekly video lecture. You can take the weekend to digest that, watch it a couple of times, take notes, do whatever you have to do, go through Blackboard, take a look at the module for the week, take a look at any other materials that are there for the week, and really sort of get ready to get working for Monday. Now, Mondays and Fridays, I am available via Zoom, and I'll show you where you can find that information in a second. And that gives you the opportunity to interact with me directly. So if you want to hop on our standing Zoom office hours, Mondays or Fridays, then we can work together. So if you want to show me stuff you're working on, if you have questions, if you want me to go over something that you maybe didn't understand, that is your opportunity to do that. And then Wednesdays, which I'm sort of picking as an arbitrary middle of the week day, those are the days you're going to sort of work remotely on whatever deliverables there are for that week. Now, of course, you can work whenever you want during the week. You can work Tuesday, Thursday, you can work in the middle of the night. I don't care. It's up to you. But I'm putting Wednesday in there because I kind of want to see this class as like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. But the structure is somewhat arbitrary in that since we are working asynchronously, you can really work at a time that is best for you. Okay, the two main areas of Blackboard you want to take a look at are announcements and modules. We are going to look at them specifically in a minute, but I want you to imagine announcements like weekly lectures. They're just like classroom lectures or presentations. What would be done at the beginning of the week, the teacher gets up in front of class, gives the lecture for the week, says this is what we're going to be covering. So they're really essential. Make sure that you check out the announcements, watch the video lectures, and really put in the time with that. And then the other thing, of course, is the weekly module. Now, they're all named the same thing, whether they're announcements or modules. It's week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on and so forth, all the way up through week 16. And so the modules lay out the details of the week, what is due, what you're working on, and all the specifics, including the consumables. So we'll take a look at those in a second. Now, next, let's take a look at software materials. So, of course, in this class, you are required to have access to the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of software. Specifically, like I said, we're going to be focusing on Adobe After Effects, but we are also going to be using Photoshop and Illustrator. So one of your goals this week is to make sure that you have access to that software and it's working properly and it runs smoothly on the computer that you have access to. Other things you're probably going to want is some kind of external storage, whether it be a portable external hard drive or access to some kind of cloud storage, whether that be through OneDrive or Dropbox or whatever. You want to make sure that you have a place to store your stuff that is not just on your computer, because if something happens to your computer, you don't want to be losing all your work. So make sure you have a place to back up and duplicate your work. All right, other things you're going to need for this class is some kind of a sketchbook, drawing or layout paper, pencils, pens, markers, colored pencils, stuff like that. And this is for sketching, for brainstorming, for ideation, because we are, of course, still going to be using some traditional methods for coming up with ideas, solving visual problems, and getting our projects off the ground. Okay, now I mentioned that on Mondays and Fridays you can interact with me directly on Zoom. Here under announcements you can see that we have Professor Previtt's online office hours. Yes, that's me. I will be holding office hours every Monday and Friday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. So I'm on there all day. And you can drop in anytime you want on Mondays and Fridays to go over anything you want with me related to class. Anything you want. So it's really a good time to get some one-on-one time. If you and a couple students want to team up and talk to me about something specific, you can do that too. Here is the address for the Zoom office hours. This is the meeting ID, and this is the passcode. Of course, make sure you download Zoom to your computer or your phone, whatever you would like. I would suggest doing it on your computer because if you're working on a project and you kind of want to show me how it's coming along and get some feedback, you're going to want to be able to share your screen on your computer and show me your project in progress. So it would probably be better on your computer than on your mobile device. So get set up on Zoom. It's free, of course. Make yourself an account and you'll be ready to go with that. And then you can connect with me on Mondays and Fridays. Okay, so back to the top of the Blackboard page. So you'll see here that our home page is actually also the announcements page. So right over here on the left is the navigation for our Blackboard class. And really, it's pretty simple. I try to keep the setup on Blackboard as simple as possible. So the only sections you really need to care about are home and announcements, which is where you're going to have, again, this is the overview of the class that we just went over. This is the online office hours. And then you'll see here that these spots are already set up for our weekly lectures. Now, the lectures aren't put in yet because I make them week by week. But you can see that there's a spot for them. And they're already built in week 1 all the way through week 16. So as they start to appear, you start watching them and taking notes. It would make sense just to keep you on track if you watch them every week. Like I said, they will come out on Saturdays. You have the whole weekend to watch them. You want to be ready to rock and roll on Mondays, right? If you want to jump ahead, if I have some up early, you can certainly do that too. But at minimum, just keep up with them week to week. So that takes care of announcements and the homepage. Next, we have modules and projects. Now, like weekly announcements, modules are listed week 1 through week 16. You'll see here at the bottom of the modules, we have our projects folder. We'll get to that in a minute. So if you look at the first module, which is what we're doing this week right now, you can see that the modules are broken down into a really simple outline, right? It talks about what is the title for the week. This week is just about the course introduction. What is the goal of the week, right? We are introducing the course, expectations and structure, an overview of the concepts and practices of digital media design, specifically visual literacy, which is what we're talking about. We're going to talk about visual literacy principles in a minute, and of course, starting with Adobe After Effects. If there are any consumables, you will find them under Read, View, Listen, Do. So if there are any videos to watch, if there are any handouts to go through, if there are any podcasts to listen to, articles to read, whatever, you're going to find links right here. So make sure that you go through those just like a textbook assignment. But of course, we don't have a textbook. Everything will be right here. And then, of course, there's usually some overview information. These are the 8 areas of visual literacy we're going to go over in a minute. And if there are any assignments that week, you'll see that. We do have a discussion board assignment this week, which I'm going to talk about in a second. If anything is due, it'll be listed right here. Now, of course, nothing is due the first week because you just got here. And if there's any homework, it's listed down here under HW for homework, and it tells you what your homework's going to be. In this case, our homework is to download and set up Adobe After Effects on your computer. Any handouts that are relevant to the week will be below this. So this is our overview of visual literacy principles, which we'll look at in a minute. And this here is all about a famous Baroque artist named Caravaggio, which we're going to look at in a minute, and that is directly related to our discussion board assignment this week. So that's how the modules look. And so again, if you go back to the modules, you'll see that every week there's a new module. So you're going to want to check those out also as the week begins so that you know what's going on. Now, the specific projects are mentioned in each module. The due dates are in each module. But if you want to actually look at the projects themselves, they're already in the projects folder, right? I like to build all of my classes with all of the information for the entire semester, all done from the very beginning. So there are no surprises. So all the information is in there, all the handouts, all the due dates, everything you want to know is in there. So you can look ahead and start working ahead if you'd like, whatever you'd like. So there's 3 major categories of projects here. We have our media analysis, of which there are 4 of them. So what is a media analysis? Well, during the weeks that we have a media analysis, you are going to be given a piece of media, whether it be an episode of a television show to watch, a piece of art to look at, a movie to watch, or a piece of graphic design to analyze. And you are going to spend the week not only sort of getting to know it and deconstruct it and analyze it, but then you're going to answer a bunch of questions about it. So there are 4 of them. The first one is on television, on a television episode of your choice, and we'll see that in a minute. That's due on week 3, so we've got time. The one on a piece of artwork is due week 7. The movie we're going to watch is due on week 11, and then the piece of graphic design you are going to analyze is due on week 15. So we're not getting to those right away, so you can definitely hop into this folder and take a look at each one. This is the television one, and then this is the art one, and so on and so forth. You'll notice that for each one, like the television one, not only is the full assignment written out here, but you also have a downloadable PDF right here of the actual assignment. So if you want to work directly from Blackboard, you can do that. If you want to download the PDF and work directly off your computer, you can do that. Whatever works for you. Okay, and then if there are the media choices that you have to analyze are all linked down here. So for example, the first one we're going to do, which is not due until week 3, so you've got oodles of time to work on this. The media choices are down here, and these are episodes from various TV shows dating from 1971 all the way up to 2008. There are a number of them. You can pick through and choose whichever one you want. Okay. Now, you are going to work on these over the course of an entire week, so it gives you plenty of time to watch the television episode, think about it, and then answer all of these questions in as much detail as you can, and then submit it through Blackboard. All the instructions are right here. They all work exactly the same way, except they're different subject matters. Like I said, the second media analysis is all about art, and so here are the different pieces of art. The third media analysis is about movies, and so here are the links to the different movies at the bottom, as well as some other options. And of course, the last one is about graphic design, and here are the pieces of graphic design to choose from. Now, like I say, these aren't due for many weeks upcoming. However, since they're already listed here, I would certainly encourage you to take the time to go ahead and start reading through them early, just so you're familiar with them. Okay, what other types of projects are we doing? So we have Project 1 and Project 2, which are both smaller motion graphics projects. Now, this is where we're going to start using Adobe After Effects. Now, this week, we're not introducing Adobe After Effects. I just want you to download the software, get it on your computer, and make sure that it works. But next week, we're going to start diving into how Adobe After Effects works, what it does, what it's best at, and we're going to start diving into our projects. So the first two projects, these are smaller projects. They're not really very long. They only take a couple of weeks each. The first one is to make a lower third. And if you don't know what a lower third is, read through the assignment and you'll figure it out. Again, there's a handout if you want to download the handout, or of course, all the information is right here. But the handout has way more information on these than you can see here because it's a pretty long step-by-step. So you're going to want to download these and take a look. In fact, if we click on it, it'll open it up in another page here, and so you can see that the handout version of the assignment has a lot more information. So make sure you're working from the handout when it comes to these. I have screenshots, I have tons of information that walks you through exactly how to do this assignment, okay? Now again, we're not doing this week, so don't worry about it, but you do want to take a look. So the project one, which is making a lower third, you have two deliverables, a draft, which then gets critiqued, and then a final, which then gets turned in and critiqued. So you have two opportunities to work on it. And you're probably familiar with that system from your other graphic design classes. You do a draft, you do a final, and then you go from there. Project two is to make a lyric video for a song. And again, same thing. If you click on the handout, it gives you a lot of really good information about how to do the assignment. You can see here there's all the details you need, a variety of links, all sorts of screenshots, and you just sort of follow it through step by step and you'll be able to do it. And again, we'll go over it in more detail later. And again, it has two deliverables, a draft and a final. So consider these kind of like our warm-up motion graphics assignments, where we're really going to be learning how to use Adobe After Effects and then working on these projects as a way to practice what we've learned, okay? So we'll talk more about that as we go along. Now the third project is our bigger project, right? So you'll see here that the meteor analysis, all four of them are worth a total of 20% of your grade for the class, okay? The two smaller motion graphics projects, Project 1 and Project 2, are worth 30% combined, so that's 15% each, right? But meanwhile, the last one, the title sequence project and presentation, Project 3, is worth 25%. So, and that one has 4 deliverables. This is a bigger project, and it starts about halfway through the semester and runs through the remainder of the semester. So it's a nice big project, but by then we will have had lots of practice with Adobe After Effects and you'll be much more comfortable with it, and so you'll be ready to really go on it. So this project's going to look a little scary, but don't let it scare you off now, because by then you'll be much more adept with Adobe After Effects and able to do it. Plus it has multiple deliverables, not all of which are actually in Adobe After Effects. There's some writing in this assignment too. So anyway, this here is the project. It's a big project. It has 4 steps. The first step here is all right here. And again, each step has a handout, which gives you more information. So make sure you look at the handouts. There's tons of links, lots of stuff to do. So super helpful. And then there's step 2, and then step 3, and step 4. It's a 4-step project that takes about half the semester from the middle all the way to the end. So that is something to start thinking about and just sort of getting prepared for. Okay, so that's our projects. It doesn't seem like a lot, but there's a lot of work in there. And then, of course, the next thing we're going to be doing is the discussion boards, which are also assignments, but they live over here under discussion boards. Now this week, week 1, we have our very first discussion board. So you are going to do this one this week. So let's take a look at it. So this is our first discussion board. It talks about seeing versus looking, which is one of the tenets of visual literacy that we're going to look at in a minute. And so you can read through the directions here. It tells you exactly how to do the discussion board. It's specifically about this painting here, which is by Michelangelo Marisi de Caravaggio, who generally just goes by Caravaggio, or went by Caravaggio. So you'll learn a little bit about him, a little bit about the painting, and then you are going to answer some of these questions based on your analysis of it. Okay, so you'll take a look at that. So that is this week's. And then coming up in future weeks, we have another discussion on pictograms, icons, and society. And then a few weeks after that, we have another discussion on emotional connection and storytelling. And then finally, our fourth discussion is on typography and literacy. Now, one thing that you'll notice if you pay attention to the modules, and I'm actually going to show it to you here in our syllabus, is that we alternate weeks based on what we are focusing on. And this gives you a chance to practice with Adobe After Effects while working on some of the visual literacy things. So I'm scrolling down here to the week to week. So you'll see here that here we are in week 1, and we are doing the overview of what visual literacy is, and we have our first discussion board. Other than downloading Adobe After Effects, we're not really doing anything with After Effects this first week. Now in the second week, you'll see that the title is Adobe After Effects. Now we're introducing Adobe After Effects. We're going to go over some of the basics, our training videos for Adobe After Effects, which are right here. You have a bunch of them. They're pretty short. They give you a chance to really practice with the different tools. So you spend the whole week just practicing these different tools in Adobe After Effects, getting to know the software, and getting ready to start working on the projects. You'll see that at the end of week 2, we start working on project 1. So basically we forget about the visual literacy stuff while we're in week 2, and we just focus on After Effects. Then we get into week 3, and now we're back into the visual literacy stuff. Now we're talking about artistic representation, and you have a media analysis to do about television. So this sort of takes you out of the Adobe After Effects stuff again. So it gives your brain a chance to kind of rest in between. Now the reason we're doing the class this way is because if we did 16 straight weeks of just Adobe After Effects, your brain would explode. It's a really complex piece of software. And next week when we get into it, we're going to really see that it's similar to Photoshop in that way, in that it does so many different things that it can be very overwhelming. And we really only need to understand the basics of it for this class. So we're going to try to really narrow our focus and make sure that we're using it in a way that is productive and will really help you understand the software and use it going forward for your motion graphics efforts. So to break things up, to give you a chance to sort of rest in between working on Adobe After Effects, not to mention the fact some free time to practice with Adobe After Effects, we are interspersing that information with these tenets of visual literacy. So again, week 3 is visual literacy, about artistic representation, and then week 4 we get back into Adobe After Effects, specifically compositions and layers. Then week 5 we're back to the visual literacy stuff, talking about pictograms and icons, and you have another discussion board. Then week 6 we go back to After Effects, but now we start talking about keyframes, and so on and so forth, alternating between weeks, between After Effects and visual literacy, After Effects and visual literacy. So my intention here is that this structure will keep you focused on each area of the class without getting overwhelmed with each one. It gives you a chance to really kind of shift gears from week to week and work on each one sort of singularly without feeling overwhelmed. And like I say, it gives you a little bit of time to practice with After Effects between expectations, right? Bear in mind, we do have spring break, which is the week of March 14th. So there's no classes, but of course, I am encouraging here to keep practicing with Adobe After Effects over your spring break, for sure. And anyway, so on and so forth. You can look through the week-to-week layout in the syllabus, which we'll get to in a sec over on Blackboard. Like I said, all 16 weeks are completely planned out already, so there should be no surprises. So definitely take time to go through this, punch all the due dates into your calendar, make sure that you have access to everything you need so that nothing surprises you. Okay, so back to Blackboard. So again, those are the discussion boards. First one is this week. And then, like I said, the syllabus is right here. That's our other link over here on the left side. And the syllabus is pretty much what we were just looking at. You can download the handout here that we were just looking at. And that is just sort of a PDF version of the syllabus. The most useful part of the PDF, of course, is, like I said, in the back is the week-to-week part. Do make sure you go through the syllabus and take a look at all of the course policies. We're going to maybe go over some of those in a second. Pay attention to what the student learning outcomes are, what you're expected to learn for the class, and of course the grading and assessment methods. How are you getting evaluated in this class. We talked about how there's 2 smaller motion graphics projects worth 30%, that larger title sequence project worth 25%, the 4 different media analysis is worth 20%, and those 4 discussion boards also worth 20%. There is attendance and participation, which is worth 5% of your grade. There is an attendance and participation policy, so check that out. And if you want to know what weeks everything is due, it's all laid out right here. So pretty easy. It does mention that some of the projects have some extra credit possibilities, so certainly take advantage of those. Okay, now, course materials and policies. Like I was saying, we want to go through those. We already talked about software, file storage, and consumables, so you know about those. Other course policies, be sure to read through the attendance and class participation. Since this is an asynchronous online class, attendance is not what you would call traditional in this class. So instead, you are expected to be active online in Blackboard periodically through each week through the whole semester. I can hop into Blackboard and see when you've been logged on, how long you've been logged on, and what you've been working on. So it's easy for me to see how active you are on Blackboard. So there's no fooling me here. So you can certainly know that. But on top of that, of course, you have to participate in the discussion boards. We will have opportunities to critique each other's work, to help each other out. I expect you to participate in that. Got to be helpful to your fellow students, right? You have to submit your assignments on time. And if there's any group work, of course, you are expected to participate in that. And if I email you or other students email you, certainly respond to those. All of those activities go towards your attendance and class participation grade. So it's really important. So it's not really just like showing up at class and getting attendance. You really have to be active in all of these areas. Okay, the discussion boards. Like I said, there are 4 of them, and there are rules for how to engage in the discussion board. It's pretty straightforward. You are required to fully participate in all the discussion board activity by Friday of the week that it's assigned. You have until 10 p.m. on Friday to fully participate in the discussion board. The discussion boards are released on the Friday of the previous week, so you literally have 8 solid days to participate in the discussion board. So that's a lot of time. Plenty of time to go through it. Make sure that you respond to the prompt that is given you in a thorough, well-researched, and thoughtful manner that addresses all of the given instructions. And then once you've made your first post and you've responded to the prompt, then your job is to go and respond to at least 2 of your classmates' posts. Go in, read what they wrote, and give them some feedback in a thoughtful manner. If you research anything and reference it, make sure that you cite it within your discussion board. And of course, timely participation in the discussion boards is essential. And just so you know, the discussion boards not only are due by Friday at the end of the day, but they actually shut down after Friday. So you won't have access to them after that. So you really have to participate within that week. But again, you have 8 solid days to do so. So plenty of time. Put them in your calendar, plan accordingly. Okay, next, there are some class writing guidelines. There is some writing in this class, particularly in our title sequence project. There's a bunch of writing to do. And so these are the writing guidelines for the class. I'm not going to read through them here. You can read through them on your own, but check it out. Make sure that you are submitting your written assignments the way it is outlined here. If any work is late or you miss any assignments, these are the consequences for that. This is how it works. Hopefully, if you stay on time with everything, we don't have to worry about this. Plagiarism and other forms of academic dishonesty. This is the school's plagiarism policy. You can read through that on your own. If you need any help with accommodations, these are the people to talk to and how to do that. And some other information about the school and general academic policies. I'm not going to read through all these, but you can certainly go through them yourself. Okay, meanwhile, the graphic design and interactive program has some expectations for technology and software. So this comes from the department directly. I did already say that we are going to need Adobe After Effects, Photoshop, and Illustrator for this class, but this is the sort of overall technology and software policy for design. Certainly read through this. Make sure that you're covering all your bases, okay? All right, so that takes care of that. Okay, our last stop on Blackboard is this link here, which is just a little bit about me. I'm not going to go on about it here because, frankly, you don't want to hear me drone on about it. But if you want to learn a little bit about who I am and what I'm all about, this is me. My name is Christopher Previtt, as you probably know by now. This is my email, probably the most important link on this page. The best thing to do in this class is to stay in communication with me. show up on my office hours, Monday or Friday. I'm always happy to see you, even if it's a small interaction. Don't feel like you're wasting anybody's time. I want to see you. I want to talk to you. So poke in and say hi. Or if you're not a big fan of Zoom, email me. I respond to emails really well. I will get back to you within 24 hours, and I try to be as detailed and helpful as possible, so don't lose my email address. Now, if you're not getting work done, if you're running late, if I don't see that you're logging into Blackboard, but you email me and you say, hey, Mr. Previtt, this is what's going on. I'm running a little late on things because of this, that, and the other thing. I could really use some help. What do you think? Then I will not give you a hard time because you're communicating with me. However, if things are not getting done and you just disappear and I don't see you on Blackboard and you don't email me, then I'm going to assume you just don't care about the class. So communication is key. Make sure you use the email. I'm always happy to hear from you, okay? All right, so beyond that, if you want to learn a little bit more about me, you can do that here. Not super exciting, but there you go. All right, beyond that, again, is the office hours we talked about. I know I'm showing this to you for a second time, but it's important. I want you to keep in touch. Because there's a lot to do in this class, and I don't want you to get lost or confused or just sort of stop doing things because you're like, I don't know what he's talking about. We can easily sort things out. Okay, so that is it for the overview for the class. Take a little bit of time to go through Blackboard, read through everything, get working on that first discussion board for this week, which is right here, okay? Now, I'm actually going to come back in a minute with the next video lecture for this week. Yes, this week there's 2 video lectures. Normally there's only 1, but this week we're going to do 2 because there's so much to go over. And I'm going to talk about not only the basic tenets of visual literacy, but also this here wonderful painting by Caravaggio, which will be helpful for your discussion board. All right, so welcome to class, everybody. I'm super happy you're here. And I'll see you back in a moment.